In this video, I'm going to talk about what to carry on a mountain bike ride. I'll talk about nutrition up to the basic types of tools that you need to have with you on every ride. And I'll start with nutrition first, starting with the basics, and that is hydration. There are two main ways that you can carry fluids with you on a mountain bike ride. One is a hydration pack, the other is a typical water bottle. Hydration packs are real popular in mountain biking for a few reasons. One is you can carry a large amount of water, from 30 up to 100 ounces of water in a hydration pack. A lot of mountain bikes today, especially full suspension, only have the ability to have one, maybe two water bottles. And some of them, you don't have any water bottle bolts to mount a water bottle cage. So you have to carry your fluids on you, either in a water bottle, in a jersey pocket, or in a hydration pack. Another nice thing about the hydration packs is they have pockets. So you can pack things like energy bars and tools inside the hydration pack. Also, they allow the weight to get on your back, which centers the weight as opposed to having it on the bike. And a lot of times getting the weight off the bike is going to make the bike handle a little bit better and just feel a little bit better underneath you when you're riding. When carrying a water bottle, I typically recommend having one water bottle for every hour of riding. If you live in an area or ride in an area that's really hot, then you may have to have a water bottle for every 30 to 45 minutes of riding. So keep that in mind. If you're riding for more than an hour, especially if it's hot out, you need to focus on replacing the electrolytes that you use when riding. One way to do that is to carry a banana. Bananas have a lot of potassium and electrolytes that you need. The other way is through typical energy drink like Heed. I like using a water bottle for energy drink because when you put it in a hydration pack, you really have to clean it out good, otherwise it can get really nasty. So I only put water in my hydration pack. Another option for replacing electrolytes are electrolyte pills or tablets like these Electrolytes. These are just little capsules, and these are really nice, especially if you're doing an event where the aid stations may only have water. And so you can pack these things in your jersey. I have this little holder where I put my Electrolytes, and so I will carry these in my jersey. It's also nice if you're going to go out on a really long ride and you're particular about the type of energy drink that you use, and you may not be able to find it. So you can just pull over. You can typically find water almost anywhere, from someone's garden hose up to a convenience store. And so you may just want to put water back in your water bottles, and then you can still have your electrolytes. So I typically will carry these electrolyte tablets when I ride. You also need to focus on replacing carbohydrate when you ride, especially again if your ride is over an hour long. Some of my favorites are bananas, like I mentioned. Also, I'm a big fan of Cliff Bars. I'm real sensitive to energy bars that have a lot of sugar. It can mess with my blood sugar levels. Things that are sweetened with brown rice syrup, like Cliff Bars, keep my blood sugar levels really steady. Even the gels, like the hammer gels, are made with maltodextrin, and they don't spike my blood sugar. So again, it's important to focus on replacing your carbohydrate. I always carry at least one extra Cliff Bar than I think I'm going to need, because every once in a while you'll come into a situation where your blood sugar levels drop, you're out of calories, you're stored carbohydrate, and you've got to replace them. Otherwise you have to end your ride or ride back really slow. So again, I always bring one extra Cliff Bar when I ride. Now again, with the energy gels, these are really nice, especially if you're racing, because they're really quick and you don't have to chew. And a lot of times when you're riding really hard, your stomach has problems digesting really solid things like a solid bar. And so the gels are quick carbohydrate that can be easily digested. They've got the packs, but you can also buy or pick up any kind of little flask like this that you can put the gel, and you can buy the gel in bulk, and that way it's a little bit cheaper and probably a little bit more environmentally friendly than going through a bunch of individual packs. Now let's talk about tools. You can carry tools in something like a seat pouch like this. I typically don't carry seat pouches on a mountain bike. I use them on my cyclocross bike and my road bike, but on the mountain bike I like the weight a little bit more centered on me, and these can really bounce around and they can kind of scuff up your seat post and that kind of thing, and I've had them fall off just because of the pounding they can take. But a lot of people use these and there's really nothing wrong with them as long as you don't have any of those issues. I use something like this camping stuff sack. And this is a type of stuff sack that you can get at a decent camping store. And the reason I use this is because I keep all of my tools in here. I could slip it in my jersey, I could put it in my camelback, and I never have to think about putting all the individual tools in my jersey or camelback when I go for a ride. So it's all kept together. So I would recommend doing this. Let me show you the basic types of things that you need to carry pretty much on every ride. First of all is some way of putting air back into a tire should you get a flat. I will typically carry a little pump, and for mountain biking, if you buy a pump, you need to get one that's high volume. Okay, road bike ones are high pressure, lower volume. Mountain bike ones are lower pressure, high volume. So keep that in mind if you're buying a new pump. You can also use something like a CO2, and you need to have the device to put the CO2 in if you carry a CO2. I also, for races like these big airs, this is a little bit more volume than a CO2, and these are lighter than a CO2 canister. Now, the downside to CO2s is you probably need to carry at least a couple of these, and that's going to add some weight. The other thing is you only have a couple air fills, so if you have a disastrous ride where you get more than one or two flats, you're going to have a pump to do that. So I typically don't use CO2s unless I'm racing or in a situation where I need to fill up a tire really quickly. For most of my rides, if it's not a race or some kind of event where I have to fill up a tire quickly, I'll just bring a pump with me. You obviously also need to have a tube with you. Whether you run tubeless or not, you need to have at least one backup tube. Now, if you're in a group ride, you can typically get away with just carrying one tube, because if you get into a situation where you get more than one flat and you don't have a patch kit, then you can usually bum a tube off someone else. If you're going on a backcountry epic ride by yourself, you need to have at least 2 tubes and the patch kit, which I'll show you here in a minute. Especially if you're running a tubeless tire. If you puncture a tubeless tire, unless you carry some stand sealant with you, you're going to have to put a tube inside of it. And if you get 2 flats in both flat in both tires, then you obviously have to have 2 tubes to get you back home. Now, I'd mentioned a patch kit. I always carry one patch kit, and these usually come with at least 6 or 8 patches. I really like the ones like this Park, where it's a glueless patch kit. All you do is you peel it off and you cover the puncture with the patch, and I like those a lot better than the glue ones where you have to put the glue on the tube and blow on it and get it dry and then stick the patch on. Those are really handy if you get more than one puncture in a tube on a ride. Also, if I have a lot of time and it's a small puncture, I'll just use a patch kit instead of putting in a new tube. The other thing that I carry is a tire boot, and all this is a piece of plastic cut out of a milk jug or something like that you can put between the tire and the tube in case you get a pretty decent sized cut in your tire. I typically only carry this on a mountain bike. However, last week I ran over some glass on my road bike, put in a new tube, and the new tube herniated out the hole because the gash was too big, and I didn't have one of these, so I'm going to start carrying one of these on my road bike as well. And in that situation, just as a side note, I actually had to tie a knot in the tube so that I could get back home, because it was the only tube that I had, and the cut was too big for a patch. So always carry a tire boot in case you get a big cut in your tire. You'll also need to carry a multi-tool like this one that at the very least has a set of Allen wrenches. Most things on a bicycle can be tightened with an Allen wrench. This one also has a flat blade screwdriver, and it has a Torx wrench to tighten the disc brake bolts should they come loose on a ride. You'll also want to have a chain tool with you, and this particular multi-tool has one built in. And if you've ever been stuck out on a ride with a broken chain, you'll really appreciate these, because in about 10 minutes you can put your chain back together and get back to your ride. Now, just as a tip, I carry my multi-tool inside of an old sock. And the reason that I do that is because I carry it in the same bag as my tube, and I don't want something sharp on here like a flat blade screwdriver or a small Allen wrench to put a hole in my tube. You're probably going to need to bring a tire lever, and that is to get the bead of the tire off the rim. Some mountain bike tires can be done by hand, but you need to have at least one of these. This mini tool actually has a tire lever built in, so I can just slide that off. So this is a pretty complete mini tool. But you need to have at least one, usually 2 tire levers, because sometimes if a bead is really tight, it takes 2 of these to get it off the rim. And finally, it's probably a good idea to carry a jacket with you. I'm not going to really go much into clothing on this video, but this is a typical just lightweight windbreaker that can ball up pretty small. And you know, this kind of depends on the type of area that you're riding in. If you're in Florida and it's summertime, obviously you don't need to carry one of these. Even if you get caught in a heavy downpour, it's still going to be 80 degrees out. A few weeks ago I was riding in Colorado, and we were between 9,000 and 12,000 feet. Really nice in the middle of the day when it's sunny, but if you ever get a rainstorm out there, it can go from 75 degrees and sunny to about 50 degrees and being soaking wet. So having a windbreaker can be very important. Even if the forecast is sunny, if you're in an environment where the temperatures can drop quickly, it's probably a good idea to carry one of these. So those are the basic things that you need to carry with you every time you go on a mountain bike ride. Hope this was helpful for you. Thanks for watching.